So, the reality for most African Americans when they come out of slavery is they're put into what's known as sharecropping. Like you get these two terms down: sharecropping and tenant farming.
What was the person covering the face for like the Ku Klux Klan?
What's the purpose?
Yeah, why did they cover?
So the Klan, and I'll get into it a little bit later, but more or less, the Ku Klux Klan wears the robes because they are supposedly the ghost of dead Confederate soldiers. So they're dressing up as ghosts.
So like, did they show their faces to like other like
When they're
members?
in the act of killing people?
Well, just in general, like would they like?
So like people within the group knew who they were.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Okay.
But more or less, they were dressed up as ghosts to terrify and basically be covered up so that way people don't know who killed who. So instead of someone saying like, you know, Joe Smith of the Ku Klux Klan killed someone last night, they can say the Klan killed somebody, right? So basically, you're unable to be identified with that. So if you have absolutely no money, but your only skill set is agriculture, here's your opportunity, okay? So more or less what happens here is this. Former slave owner or a former plantation neighbor, whatever it may be, okay, is going to say, I'll give you this property for a percentage of the crops, okay? Most of the time that's like 60 or 70%, so you're only getting about 30% of profit, and that's how it's going to go. So you don't actually have any money to rent the land out, but you're going to live on that land, and the share of the crops is going to go to you. Okay, that's how that contract's going to work. Then, as you gain enough money, cash flow wise, which takes a while, okay, then you can eventually go into tenant farming, which is basically you are paying a cash value to rent that land, but now you have to have all the supplies to now complete that agriculture. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? Do they want you to get out of sharecropping?
No.
No. Okay, this is similar to like coal mines. Does anyone know what they used to do for coal mines instead of giving people cash for their weekly pay? Anyone know what they used to do? Anyone know? So they used to have people working in the coal mines. Instead of giving them cash, what would they do? Anyone know? What's that? No.
Coal?
Nope. They used to give you company script, which was like a gift card, okay? And basically, you got the company's imaginary money to then buy at their stores, okay? So are you actually making any income off of that if you're basically getting this imaginary money? No, because it's all going back into the company. And so it becomes this big trap. So more or less people will get half their money in cash, the other half in this company script, which more or less will go right back into the company. So all they're doing really is buying supplies for the people of the coal mine, and you're only making half income. So this is one of the ways that most African Americans and poor whites after the war are kind of stuck in this situation. I take this kind of personal because my family was sharecroppers in Northeast. My family didn't have enough money in the 1880s, and so they were in grape farms, being sharecroppers. Yeah. Which, more or less, my family was in constant debt until my grandfather got the job at GE when that first opened up. And that's how we got out of basically severe poverty. Pretty interesting. Then you've got the carpetbaggers, okay? Carpetbaggers are people from the north that travel down south, yes, to help out both the slave population and also find business opportunities. Now, if you're looking at the pictures, are they well appreciated?
No.
No, okay. And if you notice, you have this guy who is taking basically his money and his clothes and moving down south as quickly as possible. Back then, when a mortgage foreclosed, all you had to do was pay the taxes, and you could take the house. So you didn't actually have to buy the house. If you paid the taxes off for the bank, you could take up the mortgage and take the house. And this is what some Northerners are going to do. They're going to take these large tracts of land, pay off the taxes, and take the land. Other people are going to buy up cheap land from former plantation owners and make businesses, make factories down there. So Northern bankers and things like that are going to invest in the South. That's how schools are going to be made. A lot of teachers, because of the Freedmen's Bureau, are going to come down and start creating schoolhouses for public education for both white and black. But they're going to be in separate schools or at separate times. And all of these people, some of these people are doing good, some of these people are doing bad. But you kind of see what the South is saying out of this. Jokingly, but maybe unjokingly, I was called a carpetbagger when I first started teaching down south. There's also Northern going down south. Okay, so like the stereotype's still there. They always jokingly say that if you go down south and you're from the north, they can immediately pick up on your accent, so you're a Yankee. But if you stay down there, you're a damned Yankee. They still have this, it's really weird, they have this still kind of like stereotype of Northerners being these kind of fast-talking, impolite, pro-business people. Tom, that was a little extreme.
There's so many other things that we could do.
What?
Like, there's so many other worse things that we can do besides comedy. Just kill them.
What?
Do worse things. Do worse things than killing someone. Just kill them. It's just weird.
No, I don't, but okay. Tough crowd.
You could kill, like, something worse. We could kill their families to save lives.
What is going on? I'm never giving you an axe. Nor am I ever giving you an oven. Holy cow. Sheesh. Alright. So the politics at the time. The Republican Party is the dominant party. When African Americans are given the ability to vote with the 15th Amendment, they're going to vote overwhelmingly Republican. Why? Why are African American people who are free going to be voting Republican? Well, Lincoln was a Republican. Lincoln freed the slaves in their minds, so therefore, vote Republican. So many politicians in the Old South, make sure you get these two terms down. So many politicians in the South were so stuck in the old Democratic way that they figured out there's no way for them to be able to get into Congress. So they decide that I'm going to switch parties from Democrat to Republican to still get into office. And these people are going to be known as scallywags. Basically a made-up term that newspapers started calling people that flip parties from Democrat to Republican. Yes, that technically means that Donald Trump was a scallywag. Because he did go from Democrat to Republican, I think it was like in 1996. He switched, yes.
Haven't the meetings of the parties, like, reversed? Like,
No.
So, like, the Republicans back then had the same views as we do now?
The Republicans have, more or less, both parties evolve over time. One thing, they want, I don't want to sound like too conspiracy theory here, but they want you to think that the party's flipped. To hide some of the scars of both parties. Right? Because what do most people think Republicans are now on the idea of race?
Racist.
They think they're racist, right? But Lincoln's party freed the slaves. Lincoln's party also tried to give them equal rights during the Reconstruction era. Jackie Robinson, the first African-American baseball player in the major leagues, was Republican and was actually promoting Republican the entire time. Martin Luther King Jr. was Republican, okay? The thing is that the Democrats, since the 1980s, have tried to separate themselves from their past. Because the majority of Democrats are the ones that tried to keep slavery in the United States prior to the Civil War. The Democrats are the ones fighting all the Reconstruction policies. The Democrats are the ones that were pro-segregation. The Democrats were the ones who filibustered and tried to overturn the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Acts of 1963 and 64. It's not really until 1984, 85, the Democratic Party basically realizes, hey, that whole racism thing, probably should stop that. And then they basically jumped ahead where the Republicans always were.
Okay.
It's that now they're trying to get to basically, they're trying to separate themselves from their past. So now, how do you separate yourselves from the past is you try to point the finger that the other side is racist, when they're really not. Well,
So when Scalawags got into office,
Yeah.
would they promote democratic policies?
absolutely, yeah. So it's a trick, because the thing is, and it's kind of reality, most African Americans that had the ability to vote really still did not have a high education. So more or less, they get told this guy's a Republican. They think that this person's going to support them under the Lincoln administration, Lincoln government, and more or less, they try to go to the old Southern whites. So it's almost it's a trick. And the other thing is that most of the Democrats start voting for these guys because they know prior to the Civil War, these were still our guys, right? The Democratic Party really becomes very, very militant here. These are ex-Confederates, and I mean, this political cartoon is pretty interesting. So they go from a Confederate soldier in 1864, now becoming someone who supported the Democratic Party against Grant in '68. Because that's Horatio Seymour, the Democratic presidential candidate. Get this down. So most Democrats, hardcore Confederate veterans of the South, plantation owners, trying to redeem the old ways, firmly against the Federal Reconstruction Acts, and argued that the Confederate cause was just, of trying to create their own separate country. And they start making up these narratives almost immediately after the Civil War that, well, the Civil War wasn't about slavery. It wasn't about slavery at all. It had nothing to do with it. And then they started to say, oh, Robert Lee was the best general of the entire war. Grant's an alcoholic butcher. And Confederate soldiers were so much better than Union soldiers. But they just had not enough of them. Sigh. And Longstreet, oh, James Longstreet, he lost at Gettysburg, and Lee didn't do anything wrong. Darn that Longstreet was second in command. Okay? And so they come up with this basically this narrative to more or less redeem themselves. And what's interesting here is the people that were still pro-Confederate during the Reconstruction period, they're not censored or punished by the United States government. So they can keep this moving forward. At this time, Robert E. Lee is now the president of what university? Do we know? His name's now attached to it. Obviously, it wasn't at the time.
Robert Morris.
Not Robert Morris, that's a guy. What's that?
Something Washington.
Yeah, it's Washington. It's now called Washington and Lee University. He was a part of Washington University around Richmond, and he became the president of the school. When he died as the president of the school, they renamed it Washington Lee University for him. Lee University still has his tomb. He's buried at the college. Yeah.
What do you think it looks like?
What's that?
That's
What do you think it looks like?
Oh,
Anyone can go there, if you're straight or not straight.
his Lee's tomb is ridiculous. You gotta see this.
Do you think he's just bones now?
Yes, you would be. Yes.
Do you think his name's still Robert?
Last time I checked. Good question.
So are we called him Bob?
Bobby Lee.
Bobby Lee? Don't hear Bobby Lee.
Sounds like a professional
You don't know Bobby Lee?
That sounds like a professional player, bro.
Now you ready for this?
Bobby
Yeah.
Lee. I don't know.
That's what his tomb looks like.
Is he in that?
Oh, he's right there. He's
Stop
just-
it. You know that
he's
he's
laying on top of
sleeping.
the coffin.
Yeah.
He really lost all pigment.
Yeah, right. I mean, what is this similar to for burials?
That's weird.
Mummies.
No.
Like a king.
He literally looks like a church saint. He looks like a church saint. Yeah, it's crazy.
Are they allowed to open
We'll get to that tomorrow.
Are they allowed to open that up? Are they allowed to open up his tomb or not? Like, what if they want to do like studies on his bones?
Why?
Why not? To see if there was like
Study the study. Man died. Got it.
They find aliens.
Alright, let me get this down. From 1865 to 1877, there will be 16 U.S. senators that were of African American descent. Majority of these guys are major heroes during the war. They get their popularity down south, and they're going to become senators. Now, it's kind of sad here. Is after 1877, when Reconstruction formally ends, there will not be a black senator until 1938. So there's this huge gap from after Reconstruction, which shows you segregation and Jim Crow laws working for this former white South. 90% of the African American free population, obviously only men at that time, are voting, and they're all voting very dominantly Republican. Hiram Revels becomes the first African American congressman. He was a church minister, becomes a doctor during the Civil War for African American soldiers, becomes very, very, very active in politics, and becomes a senator in South Carolina. My favorite story of a African American senator, his name is Robert Smalls. Escapes the plantation, takes a Confederate naval steamboat, takes it across enemy lines under Confederate flags, gives it to the Union Army, and says, "Can you protect me for my freedom?" And the Union Army's like, "Did you do that all by yourself?" Then he becomes a senator, okay? Best part of this. So he becomes a senator for 2 terms. After his second term, he has enough money. He buys his former master's house. Freaking nailed it, man. Like that's living the dream. Yeah. Tom, what is with you shooting everyone? Good gravy. Put your claws in.
Just put a sword through him.
Yeah.
Did they even have guns back then?
No, Ethan, it's sticks. Just sticks.
Just
Just sticks. Yes. And then on every Sunday, they put the stick in the log that you eat. Yes. Yes. Alright. So, this is the great lithograph. Here's Hiram Revels right here.
Those sideburns, though.
Yeah, I know. It's
Punched in the left eye.
pretty majestic. Pretty majestic.
My teacher in 8th grade did that. He went to Gettysburg.
Dude, he got soft in the left
He was
eye.
growing his beard out all school year, and then he cut right here and like trimmed it up and everything because he dresses up as Civil War generals when he went to Gettysburg. His name's Mr. Otis. He went to prep. He's weird, man. He's the weirdest.
Mr. Otis.
Mr. Otis.
I used to reenact with him.
Nuh-uh.
Yes.
If you ever see him, tell him I do not like him at all.
Okay. He's pretty weird.
He's a
pretty
weird dude.
Yeah. So here's the reference. This is a really kind of blurry graph, but you can get the gist here. Here's African American congressional leadership during Reconstruction. From there until more or less the Great Depression, you've got only 1 to 2, and then it slowly kind of peaks up to about 40 representatives. Between 40 to 50 representatives are of African American descent in the modern era. It's really not large compared to the percentage, but it's kind of starting to pick up here. Look at the top bullet there, black codes.
All right.
As these scallywags are trying to basically recreate the old South, again, black codes, just black codes, they're going to start bringing in laws that are against these freed slave populations, okay? And the whole point of this is more or less it's on control, not really on legitimacy. So the control is basically keeping the status quo of having a strong, kind of strangled out former Confederacy, now white South. Some of these laws can be as simple as like having a curfew, not owning weapons, not being able to have a loan over $1,000, more or less things that basically limit their citizenship. In a second, I'll actually show you 2 examples up. Yeah.
When someone wanted to like buy a house, would they pay in cash or would they just pay?
They could go off the bank, and you still have the mortgage system. The thing here is that it's much different. back then you had, I think you had to put like up to 20% down, and more or less then you had the mortgage. But the thing was like you didn't have credit scores or any type of forensics like that for accounting. So more or less it came down to you shaking the banker's hand, looking you in the eye, and he's like, sure. Right? The problem with mortgages, if you didn't know, I don't know how much banking background you have, is if a mortgage fails, generally speaking, the bank loses about 40% of the housing value because you just want someone back in the house. So you're going to sell that house for the second mortgage at a lower value. And so mortgages are actually really, really dangerous. This is why in 2008, the economy crashed, was because, for the most part, people were giving out mortgages to people that couldn't afford them. And that's why we had that large recession. I mean, we're still essentially getting out of it. All right, so here's two examples. First one. Every civil officer, police officer, shall arrest and carry back to his or her legal employer any free Negro or mulatto who shall quit the service of his or her employer before the expiration of his or her term of service without good cause. So you couldn't quit your job. Okay, and if you did quit your job, the police would capture you and you'd go back to work, okay? Pretty tough.
They wouldn't like do anything to you?
What's that?
The police wouldn't do anything to you?
I think there's like a fine with this
They wouldn't
law.
like kill you or anything?
What is with the jet over there?
Like, so I would just keep running away until finally I got it right, and then not pay my fines. Because you're not gonna kill me. If you're not gonna kill me,
Man, we need to get you like a bandit mask today. You are just rowdy.
Nice restroom.
You got killing one in the hallways? Okay, good.
Unless there's teachers out there, I promise I might kill
You're
them.
watching
Man, I'm never gonna teach you guys during class.
You're watching Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
How popular is Michael?
Yeah.
You know, talking about the assassin. When he jumps down, he goes, "Oh boy, here I go killing again."
You're right. Okay. So, which brings this into the Klan. Okay. This is what the Klan looked like during the time period. Am I gonna get all three of these down?
So where's the point of that come from?
Okay, so this is how this works. So here's one photograph of them. Here's a picture of them from Louisiana. Okay. There are three generations of the Ku Klux Klan. Okay. First generation of the Klan we're going to be talking about today that comes in the mid to late 1860s into the 1870s. Okay. And what they did was they were a paramilitary organization supporting the Democratic Party, not like back directly, but supporting the Democratic Party's idea of anti-Reconstruction. On average, from 1865 to 1900, there is on average 12 murders in the South on the basis of the Klan and on the basis of racism. So to give you that full number, approximately 55,000 people are going to be murdered on the basis of Reconstruction laws, both white and black, okay, and the Klan. That's generation one of the Klan. Generation two appears around 1915 with the film Birth of a Nation. Birth of a Nation is the first full-featured film. It is sponsored by the Ku Klux Klan, and it's basically how the Klan saved and redeemed the South from the from the black raping Union soldiers. Okay, it is considered the most racist movie in American history. It is 2.5 hours of just silent film racism. It's pretty bizarre.
So is it-
Oh, by the way, there's no black people in the movie. Everyone's in blackface. Yeah. Yeah.
When was it filmed?
1916.
What's the third?
What's that?
What's the third?
I'm getting there. You're rushing me, Hunter. The way you talk through the whole class. I'm just glad you're listening halfway. Anyways, so it peaks in the late 1920s, where in 1925 they're going to have a 1 million-person Klan march down Washington, D.C. And the Klan is huge at this time, but it changes itself. It's not only anti-African American, it's not anti-Catholic, anti-immigrant. It basically tries to do this kind of extreme nationalism. It culminates with the major Klan leaders, what they're known as Grand Wizards. Serious. Okay, so every
They're nerd.
listen. so every pocket of clans, basically the organization of clans locally is known as a den, like wolf den, okay? And then the leaders of them are called Grand Wizards. Seriously. Okay?
We should go.
Anyways.
I'd be more than
Okay.
happy.
Anyway, so the culminates are basically them trying to gain leadership, and one of them murders another one, and the second generation kind of falters there because of a combination of the murders that happen with the leadership of the clan, plus with the Great Depression, more or less, those kind of tensions end. Third generation is the one we're currently under. They're not very violent. They do have violent events that happen throughout the country every year. The difference here is now they've gone from directly trying to stop Catholics, immigrants, blacks, etc., into now trying to stop white genocide. Now, I don't know what country is white, but they're trying to save it, okay? Yeah. They're also the people, they're also the same people that believe that there is a direct war on Christmas because of Kwanzaa. Yeah. And so what the Klan does now is it helps out poor white communities, but only whites, and like gives them like free groceries and stuff.
Who gives them money?
What's that?
Who gives them money?
It's still a pretty large organization, believe it or not.
Donald Trump does.
Yeah. Trump is not associated with the Klan.
He is the
Tom, you're
Klan.
like this much big.
He's the Grand Wizard.
You're so annoying.
Grand Wizard Dog.
Serious. Like, I don't know who ticked you off this morning, but put the claws in. All right.
Grand Wizard Dog.
Anyways. What is going on today? Gary turned into a professional wrestler. God, don't give him an open chair. Smack your head through it. All right. So the Klan gets so bad that the U.S. government has to make a federal law to bring in the U.S. Army, like to get the enforcement. During Grant's presidency, he's going to pass the Enforcement Acts of 1870 and 1871, where the U.S. Army is going to go and find these leaders and these dens and kill them. There's actually going to be U.S. Army versus Klan battles that happen in Tennessee and Kentucky that culminates in dozens and dozens of people being shot and murdered. Well, shot. There was a proposal around 1870 to unify all of the clans under one army to invade and attack Washington, D.C. They were actually going to try and get some former Confederate generals to lead it, and all the Confederate generals said, no, that's not how we're doing this. We lost the war fair and square, and now we've got to move on. But the Klan basically is this kind of extreme group that says the opposite. This is such a creepy image. You've got the Klan sneaking in on a black house, going to shoot the mom, and then you got the Klan guy in the window. Pretty weird. Do you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What do they do with the kids?
What's that?
They kill them with it.
They can kill him.
They do?
Oh yeah.
No
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, what they would, like an average attack on a family, basically they hear that maybe they voted, maybe they